What's up, guys? So I was private messaged just now to do a possible tier list for Naruto as of the latest chapter. You can look at the upload date to get a sort of reference. Now this is gonna be a quick one because it's subjective, and well, not the top ones, but anything under that is subjective, and the reason is because of the nature of manga. Manga is never structured in a way where it's simply like a round robin tournament and everything is very objective and everything's analyzed. I mean, you got unfair fights, you got 2v1s going, and the plot's more driven by like actual plot rather than them just duking it out and comparing power levels. I mean, even in manga where there are power level comparisons, it's never that simple. And so, I mean, even when there's a round robin tournament, that doesn't mean the winner is the winner. I mean, look at again, spoiler alert, look at Yu Yu Hakusho. The round robin tournament at the end did not really convey a winner. It was just because the people who were the strongest got very tired after having consecutive battles with people early on. Anyhow, some people are clearly on top as of now, and there's still a lot of mystery. Okay, we haven't seen the top power levels of certain characters, and I'm going to explain this. So first off, and quite obviously, Obito is the strongest as of now. Number one, Obito with the Jinchuriki, of course. Regular Obito, he'd be far down there. Obito with the Jinchuriki, with his transformed Sage of the Sixth Pass final form, I believe this is the final form, is the strongest right now. He's taking on multiple people at the same time without taking a scratch. I mean, he's been outsmarted and they've landed their strongest attacks on him so far. Keyword so far. And he's brushed it off like nothing. And I really should not talk or spend another 5 minutes explaining this, because if you have any doubts, then you need to read up on the chapters. So Obito right now is number one. Now here is the thing, I will mention Madara here, and again, there's a lot of mystery surrounding him. What we do know is Madara has a certain cap based on his past, but we don't know his current cap with all this mystery. His highest cap in the past was his final loss to Hashirama, which puts him below Hashirama, and it's pretty much said, at least from his real life, that he lost finally to Hashirama at the end after many fights with Hashirama. Then he freaking, got old, and you know the rest. Again, spoiler alerts, guys, spoiler alerts, sorry. So he got old, weaker, and you know the rest, you know the whole story. So because of that, we have to put him below Hashirama. However, after he was revived, now first off he has Ito Tensei, so he's youthful again, and he's immortal. Two things. Again, if Obito chooses to turn on Madara, he would lose Ito Tensei. Again, spoiler alert. I'm assuming you've read up to the latest chapter. But we don't know Madara's full capabilities as of now. Why? Because, sure, he did technically die of old age and stuff, and he used that weird, creepy thing to extend his age. But from that moment, we do know that despite being very old and feeble and weak, he finally developed the Rinnegan and other techniques. And once he was revived, I mean, I'm sure they've discussed a lot of things. Maybe he's gotten stronger. I mean, he has this whole plan. But the main thing spurring me to think that Madara has grown stronger since his death from his original life is his sort of, you know, lackadaisicalness when he realized that Obito had tricked him and taken the Ten Tails to become Jinchuriki himself. He was sort of, you know, chill with it. I don't know the right term. I can't think of the term right now, but lackadaisical is a decent one. And you see this. There's a panel right after, like a few panels after it was, you know, seen that Obito became Jinchuriki, and what does Madara do? He's like, oh well, that's literally like his reaction. He was like, this isn't as great as it seems, but it should still be fine. And then you see this again in the dialogue with Hashirama. In his mind, he's like, this isn't the ideal situation, but I would rather keep Hashirama here, and that would be the best decision. So I'm going to keep Hashirama occupied. And I feel like because of his chill factor, he still thinks he has the upper hand. He still has some sort of intentions. Maybe he thinks he could still fulfill his Red Moon Eye plan, or maybe he has another trump card, and maybe he has other stuff up his sleeve. But yeah, so again, there's a question mark to his power level now, but again, that might just be completely false. He might just be as strong as he was the moment he died in his past life, before he got revived with Edo Tensei. So if that is the case, I would peg him below Hashirama. Hashirama would probably be the highest of the Hokages. I mean, he's referenced so many times as the god of ninja, and there's all these references like, you know, pumping him up so much. And then obviously there's the gag where his personality kind of deflates that image because he is such a relatable, humble person. But point is, he's strong. He's beating Madara. Madara's probably one of the strongest. So here's my pegging: Obito, Hashirama, Madara, everyone else. And I'm not including the actual Sage of the Sixth Paths because we don't know much about him. There's a mystery about him. Sure, people you think two things. Actually, they literally only think one thing: he's the strongest of all time. No one can beat him. If so, that's the case. Put him above Obito. Otherwise, leave it as is because we know a little about him. Maybe he's weak as crap. Sure, he was the one who forged the all 9 of the tailed beasts from the 10-tailed beast. But I mean, it's either he's the strongest or he's just some random guy. So you can peg him as the almighty, all-powerful #1. But I'm just gonna leave him out of my tier list. But if I were to put him, he'd be above Obito. But as you guys know, Obito looks a lot like him now. I don't think he's morphing into him. I just think he's using a lot of the Sage's abilities. If so, that would peg the Sage as more powerful than Obito. Anyhow, that just goes to show how, you know, with every generation, it seems like the ninjas are getting worse in power level. Sage of Six Paths being the highest, the first generation, which is kind of sad. Regardless, we see here, let me just explain to you why that's as far as I'm going to go with the list. Because everyone else is so much weaker. I mean, let me just state some clear facts. The Kages are like the strongest of the village, right? If not the strongest, they are the ones who are most popular to be elected by the village. So at least one of the strongest. Why I'm not saying the strongest? Because B is a good example of someone who is part of a village and pegged as one of the strongest, but not the Kage. And the point is, they're one of the strongest. So here's a clear fact: Madara revived the moment he was revived. So this was like at the power level he was at the moment of his death. Madara revived in his youthful form. Okay, so not at the moment of his death, but revived with the powers he developed at the moment of his death, namely Rinnegan and possibly others, with his youthful prime form, Madara, it's a clear fact, he slaughtered 5 Kages, 1v5. And even with Tsunade shouting out all this honorable stuff about how she carries his grandfather Hashirama's will, and then she turns on like Hashirama's like his like marking thing on his face. Madara slaughters all these 5 Kages. I mean, these Kages have had generations, decades to improve on ninjutsu since Madara has died, to extrapolate on what Madara has taught and develop higher levels of technology and ninjutsu with higher combat abilities. And here we have Madara 1v5ing them, and if I recall correctly, and I'm pretty sure it's correct, Tsunade got cut in half. Her torso was in half. In fact, there was a panel where Orochimaru discovered Tsunade, and it doesn't show her, but because after she got cut in half, she lost her rejuvenating ability, which pretty much destroys the illusion of her being youthful, because she's literally the age of an old lady, and therefore her true form was revealed, which is like an ugly old lady. But we don't see her. We see like Orochimaru standing down on her and looking down on her, and she's cut in half. Like you can see her legs over here, her body, her head all the way over there, and it's a straight cut through the torso. And then you see like this, like the slug like connecting her, and it's a long slug because she's like sliced in half. And basically the 5 Kages all taken out by Madara. And so that alone, like if you have a general knowledge of the power scheme of other characters in comparison to just one of the Kages, maybe compare them to Tsunade or Reikage, then you have a pretty decent idea of how they compare to Madara. 5v1 versus Madara, Madara slaughters them. He doesn't even try. He says, I'm late, I have to go. Slaughtered. So that's all I need to say, okay? 3 for the tier list, and then I mean, there you go. I would peg, though, I know you guys are interested in Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke. Sakura I would peg roughly around Tsunade's level, if not slightly above. Again, there's still a lot of unknowns about all of Tsunade's abilities, but Sakura, from the last time we saw her, seemed to have developed abilities in some areas that are better, that was stated to be higher than Tsunade's abilities. So I would peg her either around or higher than Tsunade. Remember, Tsunade has still yet to show everything, and also she has I mean, she has a lot more battle experience, and sometimes, at least in Hunter x Hunter, experience just ends up winning out. But I would peg her around Tsunade, and therefore less than a fifth of Madara's power level. Why less than a fifth? Because I wouldn't consider any of the Kages a fifth of Madara, because all 5 attacked them and Madara wiped them out with ease. So it's not like he went full power on them. So Sasuke and Naruto, I don't even think it matters, but I would peg Naruto roughly around his dad's power level right now. And that's saying something, because he's pretty much piggybacking off the Nine Tails right now. Sasuke higher than Naruto, for sure. For sure. He still has a lot of, he's still hiding a lot, for sure. But yeah, the point is, if he was even close to the power level of Obito, he would not be teaming up with Naruto and freaking Naruto's dad and the second Hokage, Tobirama, all to take out Obito and not even really succeeding. I mean, Obito is just brushing it off. Like, if Sasuke had the power, if he had the power to just, you know, snap his fingers and use some ninjutsu and immediately kill Obito with his stage of 6 pass power as of now, then he would. But he did not. Therefore, that's all that needs to be said. Just use this same sort of, you know, power scheme comparison to compare anyone. If you want to compare the dude with the shadow ability, do that. If you want to compare Choji or anyone else, use that. And we do know that the people fighting in the Great Army right now, in the last chapter, they pretty much stated that they were such ants in comparison to the fights going on that all they can really do is hope to potentially help in the most insignificant way, so that possibly it will tip the scale. And it was pretty much said that sometimes that is all that is needed to tip a scale, a single grain of rice or something like that. Mulan reference. So that's all I have to say, and again, maybe it's just due to my laziness. I mean, give me a break, guys. My voice is already hoarse from doing a few videos before this. As you know, I have other YouTube channels to attend to, namely my my main channel, which is on like rants and skits, youtube.com/willyouLaugh. And so, you know, maybe it's due to my laze without actually that I don't want to compile a full list, but I have legitimate reasons as well. I gave you them. I mean, there should be nothing else to be said. I gave you legitimate reasons when comparing Madara to just the Kages. And I hope you guys like that. Again, this has been sort of tedious. This was done simply as a request, not because I really wanted to do it, and so it was work. Not really work that I will get much out of. I will probably only get 10 views on this video, like I typically get, and maybe one snobby comment. So, guys, sometimes I get good, nice comments, and that makes it all worth it. But basically, I've said this before, I don't want this channel to be controlled by my subscribers. So if you make requests and stuff, don't act in a way like you deserve this request, or you will be angry, or you will be wronged if I don't honor your request. This channel was intended for fun and not to just do stuff. So again, at the same time, this tier list was kind of fun, but at the same time, it was a little bit of hard work. So just keep that in mind, guys. And as always, like, favorite, and subscribe.